Following strict regulations by Congress, Google has introduced new child protection policies, which the company claims to be over and above the required upcoming regulations. But how robust are these policies? Anja Dolphin, the head of user experience for children, security, safety, and privacy at Google, spoke to my colleague Ridhima Shukla earlier.
We are creating a lot of features across multiple apps to keep children and teenagers safe. So to tell you a little bit about the things that we are doing, we have a image removal policy that is new, which means that anyone under the age of 18 or their parent or guardian is actually able to remove images from Google Images results. So that means that we are hoping to actually accomplish with that lack of bullying among children, being able to be found by potential predators. This is to keep children safe and private. Another interesting feature that we are currently rolling out globally is around location history and ad settings. Again, this affects, and this is really unique for Google, that affects all the Google-owned entities, is that minors under the age of 18 don't have the option of turning location history on. So that means that that is off for, that location history is off. That's again to keep children safe. And ad setting personalization based on age, gender, location,
right.
Those are also, those are blocked based on the age, the gender, and the interests of people under 18. And with that, we're hoping that we're creating more age-appropriate experiences across Google surfaces for children under the age of 18.
So the deletion of images is definitely a very interesting and very important move by Google, for sure, and especially being done across platforms of Google. But once something hits the web, it really just, there's no going back. So when things go beyond Google, what can you do about that?
We are able to remove images that are on Google search, and we fully understand on Google image search, we will not be able to remove web URLs. So those are web pages with both text and images on the grounds of this specific policy. The only exception, or the exception to that, is that web URLs will be removed on child sexual abuse grounds if the content is of sexual nature and depicts a minor. So that is what we are able to do. We're consistently updating our policies in this space, so we might be able to offer more in the future, but at the moment, this is restricted to image URLs from Google image results that have an identifiable minor in them.
Another very interesting feature that has been introduced is that now ad companies and app developers will be asked to share information about children and teenagers with the parents. What I'm trying to ask you is, in the past, Google has failed in this regard when it came to sharing information on Google+. What's new now? What's changed?
So the content ratings that were in the app stores, in the Play Store, and the teacher-approved apps, those have already been in place. What we've done now is we've included a new safety section that actually lets parents know which apps follow these families' policies and which apps are appropriate for their children. And then apps are required to disclose how to use the data that they collect in greater detail, so that parents can actually more easily decide if an app is right for their child before they download it. So those are some of the new restrictions that Google is putting in place in order to ensure safety across the app ecosystem, accessible through the Play Store.
Another bold claim that was made by Google was that most of these policies go way beyond what Congress is imposing in terms of regulations. Could you point out which ones are those?
This is specifically things that we're doing around Google Workspace for education and on YouTube, in addition to make it sort of more private. We really want to be the industry leader when it comes to kids' safety. And among those things are, for example, increasingly adding in digital well-being features, for example, removing autoplay for YouTube for teenagers, providing safeguards and educating about commercial content. In the next few months, we'll see rollouts that explain to teenagers in very age-appropriate ways of what actually is a monetized video, so that they can decide and learn for themselves. You have to understand that children, they learn these institutional privacy and commercial privacy and safety regulations, basically learning by doing. And what we want to do is we want to help them in context in the moment that those concepts that they're not familiar with pop up. We want to explain to them what is happening so they have the right to make the decision that's right for them. And that includes and is basically built on a lot of the digital research that was done around global kids, as well as the EU kids and digital privacy rights, partly in the UK, that have been done around trying to understand what do kids of various ages understand of digital privacy and what do they understand of the safeguards that are in place. And last year we went to 400 kids and we actually gave them a very simple task. We asked them, what do you wish that Google would do for you? What do you want to know from Google about how your personal information, about how your safety is getting insured? And so we collected 400 kids' questions from the ages of 6 to 17 that have now been developed in a product that actually explains our privacy policy in child-friendly ways. And we have done that for kids between ages of 6 to 8. We know they need a parent. They can't understand these concepts quite easily. So that's to be able to explain to them in collaboration with a parent or a guardian. 9 to 12-year-olds, they're starting to have their first devices at times. They are starting to try to understand things better. They're going more into wanting to learn. And so we've provided that for them. And then the teenagers, we're really trying to explain to them, this is what's happening. Here's how you can protect yourself. Here's how you can take a little bit more agency. That's really important. We can provide the guidance, we can provide the policies, but at the end of the day, we also have to educate teenagers who are at the first time are coming in contact with a lot of these new technologies. And so we want to do the right thing and explain to them what each setting means, how they can change it, and how they can choose what's right for them. Okay. And you'll see that roll out in our teen privacy guide that we've been putting up as well.